Alright, hey there, it's D-Mac from RangerProof Arms. I want to talk to you a little bit about the DLOC mount. The DLOC you see me talk about on Instagram a lot, Facebook, whatever. It's the Deros Lock On Command. It's a brainchild of Mark Deros from Alamo 4-Star out of Lubbock, Texas. In my previous life as a SWAT trainer with the Florida Counter-Drug Program, we were able to shoot all the time, and I saw all kinds of different mounts, started writing reviews about them, and I had the opportunity to test just about every one of the leading brand mounts out there. Once I got in touch with Mark at Alamo, I thought it was a little funky, just the way the acorn nut was. I thought it was on the wrong side. I mean, it didn't look right to me. But then I started using it, and it became what right felt like. It became the standard that I held everything else up to. We've come into some excess overrun of these Picatinny mount M1913 top rail DLOCs that, from another industry partner, they overran, and now they had to liquidate them out. So what that means is we were able to pick these up, and I can pass the savings off to you. What I'd like to do is talk to you about what makes this little mount so special. As you can see right here, I've got the Bushnell TRS-25 mounted on this. You can take the primary arms red dot sight, the 2-minute of angle micro dot, anything that needs an M1913 style mount, and it'll mount right on this. You can't put a T1 or any type of mount like that on this particular mount. They actually have one that they make that's specific for that sight, simply the reason, the way it mounts. What I'm going to focus on right now is this mount, because we have a ton of these coming and the savings is incredible. What makes this special is the way that the locking rail grabs. If you can see, this is spring-loaded, and the entire rail grabber grabs the entire angle of the Picatinny rail. There's no cam that moves in to damage the underside of your Picatinny rail. The tops of your M1913 rails fit flush on the bottom of this right here. So the sight doesn't rock, the sight doesn't move. It also has 3 pronounced recoil lugs that keep this thing in place, all right? It's spring-loaded. It will stay on your rifle even if you don't have it tight. There's no tools needed. All you have to do is finger tight this little acorn down, and you're good to go. I've shot this thing on 12 gauges. I've shot it on 7.62, 5.56. I've even put it on an M107 50 caliber just to see if I could get it to move on the rail, and it's never moved. I'm a firm believer in these. The repeatability, when you take it off, put it back on, returns to 0 every single time, which we're getting ready to show you. Okay, continuing on, I just want to make sure you see that the rifle's clear. I'm not working on a hot weapon. All right. What I'm going to show you here is what makes this so special as far as the mounting goes. As you can see, it's got the little tensioning screw. I call it the acorn. I don't know what the actual name of it is. But this, all it needs to be is hand tight. All right. As you can see, this is on the non-ejection port side because of the way this mounted on. You can mount it either way. It doesn't matter. I prefer everything mounted on the right side because that's the same side that your typical cantilever mount, like your M4 30mm that you see with all my my Optisan or my Bushnells or my US Optics. I put that on. I like to keep everything uniform. This actually belongs to Troy. He's left-handed, so he put it on the other side. I just wanted to make sure that you understand it doesn't matter. Finger tight, take off, you mash in on it, and it just spring loads, comes right off. Okay, as you can see, even on the ACOG, there's 3 pronounced recoil lugs. Everything's spring loaded. You can put this on without even tightening it down, and it will not come off. All right, with this one, the good thing to remember about any time you mount an optic is make sure you always mount it in the same T-rail every single time. That gives you repeatability. If you mount with the front recoil lug in the front T-rail slot, you can take it on and off. As long as you put it back in that position after you zero, you're going to have repeatability. If you move it several T-rails back, that's where your repeatability comes out. And this works with any mount. I don't care if it's the DLOC or any of the other ones on the market. So anyway, when you push this on, you want to mash in on it, roll it right onto the rail, and always push forward. Okay, always push forward on your optics mounts. And I'll tell you why. Under recoil, it sets up a nice harmonic vibration inside the weapon, and the recoil pushes to the rear, which if you have a stationary object, anything that is at rest tends to stay at rest. Anything in motion tends to stay in motion. It's physics. So as the recoil moves backwards, it kind of pushes the sight forward. So if you notice, there's very minimal movement inside. Now that's not the DLOC's fault. That is the machining of the 1913 rails. there's a spec, a high side and a low side. As long as it's within that spec, it's still mil spec, okay? So anyway, always push forward and then just hand tighten. Okay, that's all you need to do. Even with it untightened, you can pick up on it, it won't fall off. Comes off easily. Again, put the recoil lug in the same T-rail every time, push forward, finger lock tight, that's all it takes. No tools necessary. Okay, now that I've bored you with the details, let's get into the meat and potatoes here. What I like about this DLOC system, you can run two different optics. You can have a magnified optic, such as an ACOG, or a 1 to 6, or a 1.8 to 10, or a 2 to 14, or whatever. For your ranged, long distance, medium distance, whatever. Then you can have your red dot, and as long as you zero them both and you put the optic mount into the same T-rail every single time, you can switch from a magnified optic to a red dot sight back and forth at will on the same weapon. So how does that equate? I think like a SWAT sniper, all right? So I'm out doing perimeter work. I have my magnified optic on my AR, you know, for doing the outside, you know, the perimeter, whatever, covering the sides of a building. And let's say I need to transition my role and now I need to move in closer, whatever. I can take my magnified optic off, put my red dot sight on, and I can trust my zero. Okay, holds are all still the same, just like you were running a regular red dot. So we're going to demonstrate that right now. As I said, everything goes in the same T-rail. This has 3 recoil lugs. I always index off the leading recoil lug. On a red dot sight, I use the leading T-rail. And I even use on my, my cantilever mounts, I do the same thing. Anyway, put it on, push forward, finger tight, and everything's good to go. Now we're getting ready to show you how to shoot.
Go.
That's not working. All right, that's 5 rounds right there. I'm going to take this off. Completely removed it. Now I'm going to put it right back on. Five more rounds, same steel. Tell me when you're ready.
Ready.
Clear? As stated, it returns to 0 just fine. Now this is not the optimal shooting position, but I did this to demonstrate that it doesn't move. Okay, we moved from the 50-yard line back to the 100-yard line. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the red dot sight off. I'm going to put my ACOG on. Take the ACOG, it's got the DLOC T mount on there. Put it back into the same T-rail that I zeroed it on. I'm going to do 5 rounds on the headspace of that 2/3 steel IPSC down there. As I make my weapon hot, Troy's going to transition over to the steel. Let me know when you're ready, Troy.
Ready.
Okay, that's 5 rounds on target. That's 5 rounds on target from 100 yards on a 2/3 inch or 2/3 IPSC steel in the head zone. Now what I'm going to do now, take my ACOG back off, put my red dot back on. With a 50-yard zero, I still should be able to hit center mass. 5 rounds center mass on the 2/3 steel. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay.
Okay. Weapon's clear. As you can see, I just demonstrated the feasibility of running one weapon system with 2 different sighting platforms, 2 different sights, optics that are magnified versus a red dot or a CQB sight on the same weapon using the DLOC system. Solid. We're going to tab the DLOC RangerProof.